Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It is really nice to be back together again and really appreciate you carving out an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of your time this morning to spend with us. We have some really great folks that you're going to hear from today beyond me. So, really excited for you to hear from our team. Again, thank you so much for coming together for our second webinar. We have these webinars once a quarter, and so we'll be continuing to send you invitations for subsequent webinars, and we hope that you continue to join them. During this webinar, you are welcome to use our chat function. You are also welcome to put questions in the Q&A. There's a little button at the bottom of your screen, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can towards the end of the webinar. So I just wanted to start today by talking a little bit about Restart. Over the last 3 weeks, we have brought back 35% of our children, about 10,500 children who've chosen in-person learning to learn with us in person. Whether our kids are at home or whether they are at school, this is just an incredibly challenging time for our kids, for our teachers, for our families. As many of you know, our children are so much more likely to be affected negatively health-wise by COVID-19. Their families are suffering financially, many of them, and our kids are having to work, make decisions between, do I go to college? Do I go to work? Do I try and do both? It's just an incredible amount of burden on our families and our children. And it's also there's a great deal of uncertainty in our country with the election on Tuesday. And, no matter what the outcome, I think there is a great deal of uncertainty. And so it is a tough time. And yet our children come to school every single day, smizing, it's what we call smiling with your eyes. And we can imagine their bright smiling faces underneath their masks. And that just gives me so much hope during this time. And at KIPP, during this time, we have just dug even deeper into our mission statement, which we have up on the screen for you. We have really dug into who we are, what makes KIPP KIPP, what our values are, which we also have up on the screen, which we really live by in our across our team and what we call our team and family. And we've really lived and made decisions through a set of guiding principles, which have really governed how we make decisions during this time. The first is protecting the health and safety of our students, our staff, and our families to the fullest extent possible. The second is providing our KIPPsters with an equitable, joyful, academically excellent education, whether they are the 65% of our KIPPsters who are at home, or whether they are the 35% of our KIPPsters who are at school with us every day. And the last is to show care for our entire team and family as we make some really tough decisions, so that our kids and our families and our staff can thrive to the greatest extent possible in this new normal. So as I shared, we welcome back 35% of our kids, about 10,500 KIPPsters in person. And we have been incredibly focused over the last few weeks on executing our safety procedures to a T. Just incredibly focused on that. We've updated our HVAC systems, our filters. We've really made wearing a mask correctly and standing 6 feet apart, socially distancing a habit at our schools, which is really good to see. And we have been relentless about contact tracing. And, really as a result of those incredible safety measures, what we found is while we have had positive cases of COVID come into our schools, either from staff or from kids, we have not really to any extent had any community spread. And we've had little to no community spread of COVID within our schools. And that has been a huge blessing for us. And we're grateful that we have such solid safety procedures in place, that our staff are trained on them, Now our kids are trained on them, and we are implementing them to a T. And, you know, during this time, in addition to implementing our safety procedures, we've also just learned a lot of lessons. We've learned that teaching students in person and online at the same time, doing both, is really, really hard. It is really hard for our teachers. We've learned that our teachers and our leaders are very tired. I mean, they are just, it is always the most tiring time of the school year right now, but they are really tired. And that it's taking every single one of us to support our schools, whether it's, you know, doing dismissal duty like I do every afternoon, doing arrival duty, helping on lunch duty, or like Eric Schmidt, who is our managing director of events on our development team, serving back as a principal in 2 of our schools during this time. It is really a collective effort to do whatever it takes to support our schools. And what we've also learned is that our kids have experienced learning loss. They have, you know, we're just getting in our fall assessment results, and we know that they have experienced learning loss over the summer and throughout the spring. And we have a lot of work to do to get them to where they need to be moving forward. We also know that they need a lot of socio-emotional supports. And we're learning that for our special education students, for most of them, it is much better for them to learn in person. As one of our special ed students told me himself the other day, it is much easier for them to learn in person than virtually. And for our class of 2020, what we're learning is that this is a really hard time where they are having to make very tough decisions between, do I go to work and support my family? Do I go to college and go live on campus, but maybe attend class virtually or in person? Or do I stay home this semester and wait it out? And we are working with each of those members of the class of 2020 and the classes before them who are already in college to really create a differentiated approach to how they think about their time in college right now. We've also provided laptops to all of our students. We're one-to-one now across KIPP Texas, and to our alumni who need them. And for our alumni, we've created quiet study places in our high school so that they can come and work actually directly with the support of college counselors in a quiet place and study and have a place that they can come every day to do their schoolwork. So through all of these lessons, through all of these challenges, I'll just say that, you know, there are silver linings as well. It is incredible on a daily basis when I arrive at school to see the smiles in Kipsters' eyes, to see how happy they are to see their teachers. I remember on the first day, one of them said, "Miss, my principal, she's real," because she had only seen her online, this little 5th grader. It was super cute. And we've also been able to keep our promises by opening our new schools. We've opened KIPP Mosaic Primary and KIPP Mosaic Academy, our secondary school here in Houston. You can see the little first day yard sign there. We've opened KIPP East End High School in Houston to complete the feeder pattern, actually the last school in our previous growth plan. We opened KIPP Paseo Primary and KIPP Paseo Preparatory in Austin. First 2 schools we've opened after many years in Austin, so it's really fun to see the growth there. And KIPP Journey Primary and KIPP Journey Collegiate in Houston got to move on to their own permanent, brand new, beautiful campus that I get to see every day because that's where I do dismissal duty. So I think, you know, through this all, what we've learned is that we need to continue in every single way, whether it's through our safety procedures, whether it's through the socio-emotional support we're providing our Kipsters, whether it's through rigorous instruction online or in person. We are continuing to really live into our value of Chase excellence and be very, very focused on that. And through that, and through supporting each other, helping our families, and really in every way possible, doing whatever it takes for our Kipsters, we are really, truly rising together. And as I introduce our team of teachers and school leaders, I will just say that these folks are my heroes. I mean, they are just doing incredible work every single day in our schools. And it is really remarkable to see their resolve, their courage, and their heart. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Ann Scott, who many of you know, our Chief Development Officer for KIPP Texas Public Schools. Ann?
Seva, thank you so much. When I think about chasing excellence, I think about adults stepping up in the midst of all sorts of circumstances and taking full responsibility for the success of their students. And as Seva mentioned, we're volunteering on campuses, and I get to see every morning when I go to KIPP Shine here in Houston, I see adults taking responsibility to ensure that our students have the experience that we promised them and that they're being educated at the highest level each and every day. I'm really thrilled to be joined by 3 founding leaders on their campuses. These folks are leading schools and teaching on brand new campuses, and we're so excited to hear from them today. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and Celestine, let's start with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Celestine Denson. Officially Celestine Sermo now. I just got married. Yes, in this pandemic. This is my 8th year teaching dance. This is my 5th year as a KIPP dance teacher. And this is my 1st year with KIPP Austin. I am with KIPP Paseo, the new school. So excited. I began my dance education at Los Angeles High School for the Arts, and then I was able to fly all the way to New York and attend the Alvin Ailey School of Dance, where I learned so much, made so many beautiful friends, and now I'm here with KIPP as a dance teacher and a KIPP parent, and I'm just so excited, and I can't see myself anywhere else. But that's enough about me. Dulce, go ahead. I'm kicking it off to you.
Thanks, Celestine. Hi, everyone. My name is Dulce Negreros. I'm the founding school leader of KIPP Mosaic Academy in Houston, and this is my 10th year in education. But the most important date is 2013, when I became a big KIPP Texas KIPPster. So I've been with KIPP Texas specifically for 8 years, and I continue to stay with KIPP because we truly are a human family, as Seva mentioned earlier. And the work that we do with our communities inspires me to get up every single day. And I continue to lead in this work for 3 reasons. 1, to represent as a Latina, 1st generation college student, a Houston native, and to create spaces where students get the academic experiences they deserve. And the last reason, which is one of the most important reasons for me, is to create a space, a culture where our students see themselves, understand the power of their own identity, and the power in solidarity, and know that they are beautiful, powerful, and more than enough. I'm going to pass it over to my teammate, Alyssa.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Alyssa Folk. This is my 8th year in education and my 2nd year as a KIPP Somos teacher. I started teaching in Arkansas, and I moved here to San Antonio in 2019, specifically for the opportunity to found KIPP Somos as the 9th grade Algebra 2 teacher. I was personally drawn to KIPP because of the belief that all students are whole humans who can learn and excel academically and socially and emotionally. I also teach math. I've taught it all my years of my career because I believe that all students are math people and that each one of them deserves a math champion in their corner.
Awesome. So you all are actually going to have a conversation between the 3 of you and share with us what your experiences have been. I'm going to kick it off, Celestine, by posing just one question to you. And that is, tell us about the start of the school year. What's it been like for you?
Yes, of course. The start of the school year was exciting, I will say, but it was also intense. It was intense for myself, for the staff, for the KIPPsters, and the families. There was a pandemic, right, that we're all in. And so the families were scared for their children's safety. We were afraid for our safety as well, too. But I will say that this is an experience that I personally will never forget. As a teacher, your goal is to help your KIPPsters strive for excellence, chase that excellence. And it was never a thought in my mind that this would be a circumstance that we would have to face in order to help our KIPPsters succeed. All in all, even though we're in a pandemic, the staff at Paseo have uplifted the KIPPsters to have that joy, have showed the parents, the families, that they can trust that their children is safe. And the children are learning in a beautiful environment. So I will say the start of the school is exciting and intense, but honestly, this is an experience that I would love, love, love for anyone to experience because it's a life changer. Dulce, what about you?
Celestine, I definitely agree with you around it being exciting and intense. And while it has been challenging to say the least, it's just been so beautiful to see how the KIPP community has come together or lived out our value of rising together in the midst of so many unknowns. The love and connection that has been shown these last few weeks to make, or these last few months really, to make Mosaic come to life is palpable in ways that I've never experienced as a shared leader, as a teacher before. As part of my journey, I spent the last year in the Fisher Fellowship, which is the opportunity to like plan the school year. I spent the entire year planning for an in-person school. We ended up starting virtually, so there was a lot of shifts that had to happen. I had to be very flexible. My team had to be very flexible, but we've continued to learn a lot and continue to learn what it means to work alongside our communities to ensure that we are learning, growing, and at the same time, staying safe. Alyssa, I know that although Somos didn't open this year, what has growing for an additional grade level been like for you during this pandemic?
Yeah, so I think about the Somos value of belonging. Connections are so important for all of us. And as a team and family, specifically connecting our older students and having them be examples for our incoming freshmen is really crucial. And that's a challenge that we haven't been able to easily do during this school year. But teachers are making intentional moves to connect with students as whole human beings. I think of it like we're planting small seeds by connecting individually so that whenever we're together, we can all blossom and keep growing together. Somos has also built a lot of joy for learning and for class and for teachers. We're seeing teachers finding ways to celebrate students, like recognizing them with merits whenever they display the Somos values, or whenever we're in our virtual classrooms, I'm able to give live encouragement and live feedback while they're doing their various online work. And we're actually seeing ripple effects from that as students then encourage and support each other. And so all of that is coming together and it's creating a really joyful place while we're trying to build these connections.
Celestine and Alyssa, I heard both of you say a lot of joy and celebrating students, and that makes me really happy. And thinking about like the reality of being in a pandemic, can you tell us about the challenges that you've experienced as a teacher during virtual learning experience and then transitioning to in person? And then following it up with like, how have you and your students chased excellence during this time? I'll pass it off to you, Celestine, first.
Thank you so much, Dulce. I will say that some of the challenges that I face personally as a teacher during virtual learning is keeping my students happy and engaged. I think all of you can tell that I'm super outgoing, and seeing just your student through a screen was very hard because they weren't able to feel that energy in person. And with everything, I will say, going on in the world, I wanted to make sure that they had that joy that they would get if they were in person with me. And honestly, I could see that joy when they came to me in person. It was, you know, the fear of safety and just wanting to trust and know that everything was okay, that I can tell that my students were longing for. So I made sure that, you know, there was always laughter happening in the dance room. When they finally got to me, I made sure that, of course, that they were sweating from head to toe there in dance class. And it's one of those things that's what chasing excellence is all about. It's going over and above, over and beyond for your Kipsters. They're seeing that you're doing it, so in turn, they're gonna do it. And as the students were just chasing that excellence, I noticed that they were able to be their authentic selves in the classroom, which is what it's all about. Alyssa, what about you?
Yeah. So I know that as teachers, we, like you were saying, Celestine, we really strive to provide our students with everything that they need, but this is much more difficult to do virtually. I have students in my classroom now who, even though I've been teaching them for 9 weeks, I haven't gotten to fully connect with them until now when some of them are in person. I'm really excited to have some of my students in person, but now I'm struggling with ensuring that they know me as a full human and not just a figure that's on their screen. I'm working to build those connections, but it's hard because I'm finding that I want to jump all in right away because I feel that connection. But I need to build that trust with them as a whole human. I know that's going to take time, and 9 weeks of that time has already passed. I know that that trust, it's going to take small steps. So it's small gestures. I think about a student that has never participated coming off of mute for the first time, or a student who attends office hours for the first time, or I had a student who answered a question without being prompted for the first time. And all of those small steps are what I hope is going to lead to a grand, rewarding experience as our school year progresses.
Thanks, Alyssa. One word that I heard you say quite a few times is trust. And I think that's the same word that we're doing at KIPP Mosaic to chase excellence. At Mosaic, we're the Mosaic Mambas, and we chase excellence every single day by living out the Mamba mentality, which is our motto. And it ties around like the constant quest to just be better each day and to better ourselves. And so we do that by rolling out strong systems tied around equity, practicing as a team, huddling up afterwards and naming those lows and those grows, and then doing it again. And it's that trust component that has played a huge factor in allowing us to be successful and allowing us to be safe and provide joyful environments that where our students are learning and growing each day, because we're giving each other raw feedback. And we know, similar to what Celestine said, we're going above and beyond to make sure that we see our strengths as individuals, but also as a collective, a mosaic. And so really just making sure we're working together and doing it as a team. Alyssa and Celestine, you both kind of talked about a little bit about the joy and celebrations happening at your school. Can you tell us about your most joyful moment from this school year so far? And I know that's probably a really tough question because there are many.
Yeah, I'm so excited to share this. So this happened this week. There was a student who is very hesitant to come off of mute and share. Several days ago, I asked him to share and he just was not ready. So he and I talked and we decided that his personal challenge would be to come off of mute and share 3 times before we left for Thanksgiving break. I mean, like, we made a Post-it note, we stuck it on the board. And then on Wednesday of this week, I asked him if that day would be the first time he shared by answering our Do Now. And so he practiced what he would share with me before he came off of mute. And then when I called on him, he didn't have a moment of hesitation before coming off of mute to share. And other students were actually so excited to hear his voice that they cheered him on in the chat. I felt so excited and proud of the way he embodied courage, which is one of our SOMOS values. I look forward to hearing from him twice, hopefully more times before Thanksgiving break and throughout the rest of the year. Celestine, how about you?
I am totally with you. I can honestly say that I'm from California. In Texas, it's new to me. This weather, right? Freezing cold just hit me, boom, out of nowhere. So drop off. I don't know what it is. I just love it. So no matter if we are in the freezing cold, I am all for it because seeing the Kipsters' faces light up and so happy, waving their hands, saying, "Hi, Miss Denton." Oh, hi, Miss Sandoval, right? My new name. Saying all those things and then coming out of the car and asking, "Is there dance today? What are we gonna do in dance?" That's what it's all about. That's what we should be doing for our Kipsters. We should be making sure that they're ready to have a beautiful day. So honestly, drop off in the morning in the freezing cold is the best.
You both just warmed my heart so much. I absolutely love hearing the stories from teachers because it's on a different level. But for me, the first day of in-person school, hands down, has to be my favorite memory from this school year so far. You know, I remember the first day as a teacher at KIPP Austin Collegiate in 2013 and my first day of school as a shared leader at KIPP Houston High School in 2016. So I wanted to create that magic for our staff, students, and families. So as you saw in the picture shared earlier, we had yard signs, we had a balloon arts, we had music, and every single staff member brought all of the joy. And I just remember standing at arrival, trying not to cry as we saw our students for the very first time. And so that day will forever be my favorite memory because it was the grand opening of Mosaic. And so really living and centering myself on that one. Celestine and Alyssa, thank you so much for sharing your stories. It's been great to connect with you all and meet you as well virtually as founding teammates. I'm going to pass it over back to Anne.
Thank you all so much for sharing your perspective. I think it just makes it that much more real to hear your firsthand experience with our Kipsters as they started back to school in person. I'm really excited now to be joined by Ms. Guevara. She is not only a KIP parent, but she's a member of the KIP team and family. I'm so excited that you're here with us. And I'm going to start by asking you to share, just even before all of this and the global pandemic and all the challenges that we're now facing, let's start from the very beginning. How did you hear about KIP and what's your journey been like since then?
Well, hi guys. I loved hearing all your stories. My kids have been in KIP 5 years. Actually, two of my sons, Jonathan and Jacob, were founder kids of KIP Truth Elementary. And everything started literally, I was desperate. I have a son with special needs. He has autism and intellectual disability. And at the district that we were at that time, weren't meeting his needs, and they had put him in this box of like just come off out of meeting, them telling me, you know what, this is maximum potential. There's not going to be no more growth, so there's no more services that we can give. I took my son to the park that day, and I literally was sitting at a bench looking at him, and I was like, no, there's more to him than this. There has to be a place where they'll give him the opportunity to see beyond a label, beyond a disability. And a KIP recruiter came up to me that day and they were like, hey, have you heard about KIP? And I looked at her and I was like, no. And she gave me a quick rundown and I stopped her. And I told her, wait, before I can consider it, I have to talk to your principal and tell them about my son and my specific situation. Your story is beautiful, the background, but I need to meet them. And she was like, you know what? No problem. I can make that happen. And I did. I met with Ms. Juber, the founder principal of KIP. And I told her, I gave her a little background of my son. I was like, I want you to meet him. And just with this big smile on her face, she's like, we got a spot for him. We can be the school that your son needs. And I was still like, no, I want you to meet him. And she's like, I'll meet him, but I'm telling you, like, there's a place here for him. And she met him and met the other boys, and they just brought us in. And even at that moment, there was not a grade for one of my kids, but they would always ask about him and always worried about all of us, not just the ones in school. At KIP at that moment, and that made me feel like home, like these people here really care for us. And at that time, I was just a parent. And later on, I started looking for a job. And one of my son's teachers was like, if you're going to work somewhere, we would love for you to be here. And I joined the team the following year. That's how we started at KIP.
What a beautiful start. So fast forward to today, you made the decision to send your sons back to school in person. How did you make that decision? What did you consider? And also, what's been special or different about the start of this school year, given all that we're facing right now?
Well, the beginning of the school year was totally different. You know, it was online and virtually, but even though being virtually, the expectations were high, especially like I mentioned, having a son with a disability. His time is gold for me. And I can say for his teachers, they motivate him and push him, and they would check in and like, hey, Jonathan, his history teacher, his math teacher, his science teacher would like constantly call him after every subject. And it's like, hey, Jonathan, did you understand? Do you need more one-on-one? What I can do, Ms. Davis, his case managers, like, what do you need from me? And Jonathan, what is this? What is that? I was impressed of how much commitment they had virtually. And when they told me we're coming back, I didn't hesitate on saying like, they're going to be there. Mainly because he needs that structure. Being with a disability, they need that routine, they need more support. And I know here at school, they give it to him, and Ms. Davis, his case manager, gave me the rundown, like, this is how middle school we're doing it. And Jonathan is going to have a visual schedule and a checklist to make him feel comfortable and know what's happening, because we know we're adding a lot of safety protocols, but we want him to feel safe. And they also know, like, my 5th grader, he's an actions kid. Mr. Natumba, his teacher, history teacher, will be like, hey, buddy, this hand sanitizer is just yours. And if you need anything from me, let me know. And sometimes he's like, hey, I want my temperature to be checked. And he does it just to calm him down and ease him and give him that insurance that I'm safe, that I'm here to protect you. And for my 2nd grader, he had a fear, like, what about if they don't have a face mask? I'm going to die and my family's going to die. And that's the fear of hearing how bad it is. But as soon as he came to school, he received nothing but love and nurture and different. It looked in a different way, but he still felt it. It wasn't through like a physical hug. It was through like, let's do an air secret handshake just for us. Or you're a leader as well. If you see a friend that accidentally their mask went down, you can tell them, you can serve and lead and tell them to put their mask back up. And just no fear. It's like, we're here as a family. We're going to take care of each other as a family. And just that bondage that they're building with my kids as a mom, that means the world. And I know they're safe, and they're going to take every caution and every step they need to protect them and make sure they come back to me safely and as healthy as they got here.
I love hearing about how your schools and your teachers are creating joy and providing safety. You talked about it a little bit before, but if you'll just share with us a bit more, what you're seeing in terms of high expectations and still chasing excellence for your sons, even in the midst of what is a very different school year.
Like I mentioned, like Jacob, he's very anxious, and they're just taking those extra steps of giving him the comfort that he needs. And as having an 8th grader, they're all about hugging their friends, all about being in each other's personal space. Like, boundaries, they're out the window at this age. His history teacher has done dance off. Like, they know that social part is very important, and for them to interact after being isolated for so long from their friends, it's totally natural that they're going to want to be around each other. But he has dance off with them, and that bond that they're creating and having, and they feel like, oh, we're not missing out on anything. They're giving them those social needs just in a different way, and just going those extra miles, even when they go to lunch, how it's only one class at a time, and they have different icebreakers for them to do that way. And first thing is for safety and social distancing. They make it so natural, but in such a loving way. They don't feel that they're missing on anything. And once again, that for me gives me that peace of mind that every parent we want, my kid is going to be safe. And Ms. Husky, Ms. Juber, they went the extra 10 miles to make sure that they are getting everything they need.
Last question. You shared so many beautiful examples of school leaders and teachers. What's impressed you most about your son's teachers during this time?
My kids' teachers, everything. They have been there for us in so many different times of our lives, like me being a single parent and an immigrant. And not too long ago, I hit rock bottom, making a transition. Now I'm at Dallas, Cape Truth Elementary, but we live in Waco. That's an 1.5-hour drive one way and an 1.5-hour drive back. But for us, it's worth it for what KIPP offers us and for the love that they get from their teachers and encouragements. There was a point when we didn't have, Wi-Fi, and the teachers would call and send the pictures like, this is the assignment, turn it in, text it back, or call them. One of the teachers would drive and meet in the parking lot and have work package for Nicholas, my second grader. And that included, you know, a big bag of snacks and encouraging notes for them and myself. And at a moment I had to tell them, I can't be a school mom right now. I can't do homework. I'm focusing where their next meal is coming, a roof over our head. And you know what? I started seeing less homework packages and more snacks in their backpacks. And my son's like, oh, I did my homework with Mr. Harris, or I stay after school and they help my brothers do it. They wear so multiple hats already in the building that at my lowest, they even took the mom and dad hat and were there for me and them. And the moment that I was able to be back on my feet and sit in a safe place, they were like, was like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready. And they were like, here you go. And at no moment I felt that they did it out of obligation or out of pettiness, or it was, you can see the love they have for what they do and they believe in what they do, and it just transmitted to us. And for us, like Mr. Harris, Ms. Davis, Ms. Winston, Ms. Joubert, their family, I don't have a family, but this is my family, this is their family. And they know no matter what they're going through, they're going to be there for them. Like right now, my 8th grader is already learning how to apply for scholarships. And he's in 8th grade. They're already putting that seed in him, and it's transmitting to my youngest one. We're going to be somebody. My teachers know where I come from. They know the difference that we go through, and we're going to make it, because I see it every day when they come. They're like, look, my teacher looks like me. And for that, for them, it means the world. And my 8th grader is like excited, look, Mom, Ms. Blacks is teaching me how to do this, and I'm going to do it. And I'm already applying for college, early college, high schools. And just the excitement for him to know how the importance of education is comes from here. And not just them, like because of KIPP, I'm furthering my education, and they're motivating me to finish my degrees. So it's like a family affair. They're not just motivating my children, they're motivating me to educate myself, to grow and to show them and be their role model. And if it wasn't for them, for KIPP, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now. I don't think I'll be in a safe place. I don't think my kids would believe in themselves as much, and I wouldn't be the mother that I am without their support. So yeah, KIPP, I don't think I can put in words exactly what KIPP means to me, because it means so much as a special education parent and in teenager going through hormones, and they're there to help me with that is so much.
Ms. Guevara, I can't thank you enough for sharing with all of us your beautiful family, your incredible boys, and your experience with KIPP Truth and KIPP Texas. We appreciate you sharing your experience with us today. Now we're going to wrap up with some questions, as Seba mentioned earlier, and I'll get us started with a question that came in about lessons learned. So Dulce, I'll pose this to you as a school leader. What lessons have you learned in this first 9 weeks that you want to apply to the next 9 weeks, especially when we might have even more students on campus?
Thanks, Ann. So many lessons, but if I've had to narrow it down to 3 lessons, the first one would be to over-communicate to staff, to families, to our community members. It's so critical right now with so many unknowns to just be able to share what we do know. And so that's the first one, over-communicate. The second one is to be flexible, but be centered in a strong why. There's, again, so many unknowns, and being able to switch gears, but always naming that why to our staff, our family, so that they know why the change is happening potentially. And the last one is to get as much input from our stakeholders. That's our staff members, our communities, our families, our students, when there's the opportunity. Sometimes decisions have to be made really quickly, but if we can touch base with a couple of people here and there, that's gonna make a world of a difference, because it's gonna make them feel like their voices are heard, and because their voices do matter. And we do this work with our community. And so I'm walking away from these first 9 weeks with those 3 things: over communicating, being flexible, and getting stakeholder input.
Thank you, Dulce. Seba, this next question is for you, and it came in early from Tiffany Perry. So Tiffany wants to know, do KIPP high schools offer dual credit and industry programs such as STEM-focused classes?
That's a great question. So we have a very strong focus on advanced placement and advanced coursework. And so in our high schools, all of our children take AP classes. In fact, the goal is for them to take 6 AP classes by the time they graduate, or take an IB set of courses. And so either way, they're getting those advanced courses. We also are restarting our work on dual credit classes. So we'll be starting those up again in January with some new partners who we think will just allow us to provide much more high quality dual credit classes. And then actually all of our high schools, except for one, are very focused on STEM. For example, at KIPP Sunnyside High School in Houston, we have a STEM engineering lab where our KIPPsters literally build robots. They built a greenhouse that's a working greenhouse. When you walk in there, you see all sorts of tools because they are at work using their STEM skills to really actually better the community. So we do that at Sunnyside, and at all of our other high schools, we have a real focus on STEM as well.
Okay, last question, Seba, and this actually connects back to what Ms. Guevara was sharing in terms of her 8th grader already starting to prepare for college applications. How is KIPP attempting to raise the student population attending college?
So, we have about our KIPPsters tend to graduate from college at a rate of about 4 times KIPPsters in our communities. And so while we celebrate that, we also know that we have a long way to go to get to our goal of about a 75% college completion rate. And so we are working very individually with our KIPPsters during this time to really understand what's the best path for them and for their families. Is it to go to college from home right now? Is it to go off to college? Is it to take a semester to work? Or is it to go down a career path? And so we are working KIPPster by KIPPster with every single one of our seniors in the class of 2021 right now to really understand their family circumstance and their goals and the best path for them. And so we will continue to push on college completion. We do believe that that is one of the most powerful sort of tools we could help a KIPPster build in their tool set to be successful in their lives. And so we will continue to push on that KIPPster by KIPPster, but also be very differentiated in our approach today as a result of this pandemic to make sure we're doing what's right for our KIPPsters and their families during this time.
Hey, Seba, we've got one quick question. Wanting to know currently what is the percentage of students who are learning virtually versus face-to-face? And was this a parent choice? How did we arrive at these numbers?
Yes, so this is completely a parent choice. In fact, our parents choose every 9 weeks whether they prefer virtual learning for the next 9 weeks or in-person learning. So our parents are about to fill this form out to decide on their method of learning now for the 3rd time. In just a week or so. And so it is completely parent choice. And today, 35% of our KIPPsters have chosen in-person learning, and 65% of our KIPPsters have chosen virtual learning. And so for the next 9 weeks, that starts right after we come back from winter break in January, we will see if those percentages change, if our families make different decisions. We know that in our communities, the cases of COVID are rising right now, as we see across the country and across the world, and that is scary. And we also know that for our kids who are in person, we really feel like they are benefiting tremendously from in-person instruction, and their families are grateful that they have that option. And so we will continue to do both.
So Seba, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap us up. And if there are questions that we weren't able to get to during this session, we will be sure to follow up with you. And thanks so much, everyone, for participating. Seba, over to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much to our panelists, and to you, Ms. Denson, Ms. Folk, Ms. Negreros, Ms. Guevara. I mean, what an incredible group of powerful women leaders you all just heard from. So how awesome is that? And just wanted to say thank you for joining us for this webinar, and hope you do for our future ones as well. Please sign up for virtual tours. We will be sending you information so you can actually go into our classrooms. Talk about like a silver lining from the times. You can go into our classrooms in any of our 4 cities with us on a virtual tour. And please also take a look at, and we'll send this to you over email, our back to school videos. They are just full of joy. They are full of joy, and they will bring a smile to your face as you get to experience what our Kipsters have experienced going back to school. So we hope to see you on January 21st for our next webinar. Thank you for joining us today. And most importantly, thank you for all of your support in allowing our Kipsters to chase excellence and rise together. Take care, everyone. Be well.